If you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Christine Campbell-Rappin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. Welcome back, everybody. Every business owner I know has a wobble. Wobbles in the world of business are so part of the game. And when I work with my clients, I always ask them this question. Are you in control of the wobble, or is the wobble controlling you? Because entrepreneurship as a whole is a wild ride, and there are going to be things that are going your way, and then there's going to be a plot twist. And you're going to have to make a decision to be resilient. And I am super excited to introduce to you today our guest who's going to come talk to us about cultivating a resiliency mindset to thrive as a business owner. So if you have not had the opportunity to meet, please welcome Jennifer Kok to our community today. Jennifer, welcome. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you, Christine. I'm happy to be here.
I want to talk about the elephant in the room to kick us off, and that is business is a roller coaster. It is filled with plot twists, and a lot of people don't create the success that they envision when they start the journey. And a lot of businesses fail. A lot of businesses don't succeed. And yet to say we're resilient is one thing. But what does it actually mean to be resilient?
Well, that's a big question, right? Resiliency to me is really like a muscle that you use every day, and it gets a little stronger every day that you're using it. And it means the ability to be able to weather whatever business, like you said, the wobbles of business come at you, and to persevere with grit. So, we get into this entrepreneurship journey. A lot of us left a corporate job. There was a passion, there was a reason. We saw a problem we could fix, or we had a deep personal reason to start a business. And we get into it, and a lot of times expectations aren't very realistic. We feel like, oh, we're going to be successful in a couple of years. I'm going to replace my paycheck in 6 months. I've had people reach out to me 3 months into business and said, I think I might quit because I haven't made $1 yet. So resiliency is managing your expectations. It's understanding what you're getting into. That's part of resiliency, that it takes time. You have to give yourself time to build anything, just like building a home. You're not going to build it overnight. But why do we go into our business thinking we're going to build it overnight? And then, like you said, the wobbles. Owning a business isn't linear. Corporate path is linear. We do this, we get promoted, we do that, we move on, we move on, we move on up the corporate ladder. Owning a business is a roller coaster. It's ups and downs. So when you're in the downs, how are you managing the downs? That's real resiliency. It's like the muscle that you're leaning on to get you through those times. And when you're on the upswings, you still need resiliency to keep handling the growth. Sometimes small business owners get burned out because they're growing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had mentioned that failure rate is tough. It is tough. The statistics are not great. 1 out of 2 fail in the first 5 years. 63% go on to make 10 years. Those aren't great favors, odds in our favor, right? But I often say that business owners don't fail, they quit. They quit too soon. And it's because they do not have the tools in place to help them build that resiliency muscle.
I think that is such a spot on comment. We do quit. I had this exact conversation this morning. Somebody was like, well, how quick can I start to build momentum? And I said, the adage that takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. Well, business isn't one skill. It's many skills. You have to learn to market. You have to learn to sell. You have to deliver. You have to deliver at a high standard in order to see this 10-year cycle, which you say is also still daunting when we look at it. And I said, you have a background. She has a degree. And I said, you spent 4 to 6 years getting that expertise to get licensed. Just because you decided to get a business going doesn't mean that you don't have to have the same investment in time, hours and developing the skill set. And I love that you talk about this as a muscle, because as we start to grow, it often becomes apparently and often abundantly clear we might not be the only person that we need at the table. We might need team. We might need support. We might need resource. We might need knowledge that we don't have from day one. And yet every business owner I know goes, I'd love to have a helper, but I have no idea how to let go of control, because when expectations are ruling the heat, it's easier to have it on my shoulders than to pass it on to somebody else's. So we talk about letting go. And it's not like we're all not saying, I want that. How do we let go? And what do you think letting go means in order to be more resilient and to navigate the ups and downs better?
Letting go doesn't mean you bury your head in the sand and you don't pay attention to your business. And I think a lot of business owners kind of have this all or nothing mentality. We start a business and we're super passionate, we're excited, we're scrappy, we're in there every day building, and as we should be. That's how you learn all the layers and departments and you craft your expertise. But at some point, if you carry on like that, you will burn out, and burnout means you're going to be so tired, you're going to start to feel the cash flow crunch. Every little thing that comes your way is going to be a big deal instead of a little deal. So we're not building resiliency, we're just reacting. So in order to push through that, you have to start allowing other people in. And I always say, let's do this in baby steps. This doesn't mean you're taking your newborn baby and giving it to a stranger and say, hey, go watch it for 90 days. We need to look at, first of all, what are you spending your time on? That is something I take my clients through, and boy, is that eye-opening. When you look at where you're really spending your time, a lot of it is very task-oriented. Getting caught up in the to-do list, getting caught up in the day-to-day. And is that why you started your business? I'll never forget, I had a business coach when I owned my brick and mortar bakery, and he said to me, you bought yourself a job. And that was tough to hear, but so powerful, because it made me start to think about what is the difference between business ownership and buying myself a job? And it's getting yourself out of the day-to-day doing. One of the questions I love to ask my clients is, are you the bottleneck of your business? If you didn't show up for 30 days, could your business keep going? And if the answer is no, then that's telling you you need to start figuring out how to delegate, bring people in, and allow them to come in. And that doesn't mean you bury your head in the sand and don't pay attention to what they're doing, but you set them up for success. You create some standard operating procedures, you create a system, you train them on the way that you want them to operate, and then you have conversations and you have metrics that you pay attention to along the way. So it's baby steps. It's not going to happen overnight. Start with, what does that day-to-day look like for you, and what are some of the things you can let go of and outsource to somebody else? For a lot of small businesses, that's marketing, so they can outsource to somebody like yourself, or that is some type of assistant or customer service, some of those things that they can bring in and allow that person to excel in that position for them.
I think so often our big blind spot is that while we have things that they said we might not excel at, and doing them is a disservice because we don't do it well, it's sometimes the biggest blind spot for us is that we don't realize somebody else is actually, that's their jam. They excel in that place. And that's where this real idea of enhancing performance comes from. It's like, I know enough about that to be dangerous, but you are quantum on that. And it's like, God, I would want you being quantum on that skill in my business, because together we rise. And give yourself the freedom to recognize when you are hiring. I love what you said. You have to set them up for success. That is your responsibility. And it isn't a responsibility that only starts when you start to draft the job. It isn't the only thing when you make the first day and welcome them on board. It is an ongoing commitment, because nobody comes into your business wanting to be doing a crap job. And if they are not succeeding in the role, that is a partnership breakdown. And when you do that, you're both at fault, but you take the leadership role and turn that around. Because I agree with what you say. This idea that we can do it on our own, dangerous.
Very dangerous. There is no badge of honor for building a business on your own. And I can't think of anything that anybody's successful at and they got there on their own.
Yeah,
You know, Simone Biles has won 7 gold medals. She didn't get there on her own. She
that's
had
right.
coaches and nutritionists and people behind the scenes helping her. And so the same is true for business owners. It's okay to bring people in and let them help you build your dream.
And they will bring a fresh perspective, and hopefully you equip people to have contribution to the bigger conversation, because sometimes when you are in that ebb and flow, you can really shift and become more resilient by learning from other people around you. And I think I could imagine that moment when someone says you bought yourself a job, how hopefully horrific that would have felt. And it is so true, because so many business owners said, I bought this for freedom and I'm constrained by it. So guys, linger in this episode and think about, could your business survive and thrive without you, at least for 30 days? And if the answer is not yes, and you want it to be an ongoing interest, it's probably worth coming to talk to Jennifer and I, because we help people transition through that. And I think a lot of people, when they're in this journey, and you talked about this idea, like, one, we would build it in a heartbeat because we've been misrepresented in social media. 2, we have missed expectations. 3, we're getting rid of the I have to do it with other people. A lot of people talk about the why and how important having a why is, because it gets us started. And I think you and I would both agree, having a clear why is like a true North Star. It pulls you past the comfort zone, but it is not enough on its own. You have a really important perspective, and it is talking about the who.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the who, because so many people get caught and stop at why and then wonder, well, am I the problem? Because I thought my why was big enough. Why are we struggling so much?
You know, that's such a great point, because you're right. Every business owner, you'll hear over and over, what's your why? Why did you start this? You know, tell us your why. And the why is why you start. There's a passion there. There's something deep in you that gave you the courage to start your business. But what happens over time, if that's all you're leaning on, it's not enough. And that's where the who comes in. And I say that there's a couple of who's, that there's 3 who's you need in your business. The first one is you. You're the first who. You know, why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? Are you doing it for your family? You know, for me, I left a corporate job because I wanted more time at home with my family. It wasn't really my family, or was it me? Was it just my desire? You know, who are you doing it for? And who are you going to show up for every day? And then the second who is, who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, when I started my first business, Facebook wasn't a thing. Google was just getting started. I didn't have access to women's groups and business groups and all these different groups. I was out at Chamber of Commerce meetings with a bunch of men business owners. That was the landscape when I started my business. Well, it's very daunting to go up to somebody and say, you know, I'm kind of struggling with cash flow and I don't really know what to do. And so I didn't. Well, I thought was working well till the day I got a phone call from my manager when I was heading on vacation with my family. And my manager said to me, our paychecks are bouncing. Yeah. And so here I thought I had a successful business, and all of a sudden I get that phone call. Well, it's because I wasn't surrounded with people that I could be transparent with and ask the hard questions. You know, the people that I was surrounded with were my cheerleaders, but they weren't
Mhm.
business owners. And then the third who is supporting you? You know, do you have relationships with your CPA and your bankers that you can ask those questions and get the guidance? Do you bring in a business coach? You know, do you have other people that have been there, done that? Who is supporting you? And that is also where delegation comes in. Because if you're trying to be an expert in everything, you're going to be an expert in nothing. And you really need to have support in your business. And so if you want to make it past 5 years, which I would say, I have yet to meet a business owner who said, oh, I'm going to start my business and hope I'm done by 5 years. You need to,
Except for the consultants on there, I might do 5 more years because I'm in retirement mode.
right, right.
That is why they only have 5 years, guys, not because they're set out to, I have a ticking clock.
Exactly. You need to, yes, your why is your passion, but the 3 who's are what is going to help you show up every day.
I got to say,
And
I love, 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 love these who's. It is so important. And I'm going to call on it because I think I've talked about it here on the podcast in past episodes, because I'm passionately advocating for this truth. The first who is you.
Mhm.
And it is really easy and socially acceptable to say, I'm doing this for other people. We're trying to save the world. We're trying to save our relationships, our marriages, our children's, the dynamics, all of it. And yet, truthfully, it is not about them. It is about who you are becoming, and you are responsible to yourself first. And so I love that you led with the who is first. It's you. Yes, your family has a byproduct and a win when you do something successful. But it is not that you say, I'm doing this for the family, that will get you out of bed every day. It has to be that look, eyeball to eyeball, person in the mirror. And truthfully, here's the coolest thing about resiliency as I see it. You're wired to breathe.
Yes, I
You
love
are
that.
still breathing. There's
Mhm.
still an opportunity to choose to do something for yourself, to find other people to lean on strengths. And it is also, I love the second who and the third who, because it's also about the context of community. We don't get there solo. And it isn't somebody else's obligation to hold your dream.
Oh, so
Why is
true.
important, but it's some responsibility. I think people like you and like I are fuel sources to a spark that you carry. And when you have it flicker, that's normal. But what you do with it is a choice. It's a muscle, and a muscle that you help people build. So I want to ask you, because I ask all of my guests this, I'm fascinated by it. As you look at your business right now, what is working right now for you to amplify your message? How are you connecting with people to help people build the resiliency muscle, to really shift their mindset and to see them beating the odds that so many people don't?
Well, I come alongside them. I meet them where they're at, right? I work with clients who are usually in their first 5 years of business. So they are struggling with the ups and downs, the wobbles, as you say. And I come alongside them and guide them. And what works is the fact that I'm listening, I'm not judging, I understand that they don't know what they don't know, and I'm giving them tools and empathy and encouragement and real world strategies, proven strategies, and a formula they can follow. Because once you start getting some wins in your business, that builds your resiliency too. Because now all of a sudden you have a little bit more momentum. Momentum builds confidence, and it just continues to rise from there. So that's working. That's what I do with my client work. And then my clients have achieved double digit growth. It's been absolutely amazing. So that to me is my win. If they win, I win. And how do I find more clients in my type of business? My clients. If you pour in with a service heart and treat your clients and take care of their experience and truly want them to succeed, no matter if you are a product based business or a service based business like we are, they will become your advocates. And we need that messaging out in the world because it's very hard to be found otherwise. It's just like a needle in the haystack. But if somebody refers you, that person is 71% more likely to buy from you if it comes from a warm lead. So that is how I operate, especially with a high ticket offer. And I teach my clients that too. And a lot of my clients are in the creative entrepreneurs in service, like interior designers, photographers, and they have a high ticket. And so they build their business through referrals.
When you are able to walk your walk and others observe it, other people can advocate. And it just adds great momentum. I want to congratulate you for that momentum and for the successes with your clients. Where do people find you? How do they connect with you and engage with you and your services?
I would invite them to my website, which is Next Wave Business Coaching. I have lots of resources there on tips and strategies to help you grow your business. And I'm also on LinkedIn. DM me on LinkedIn, Jennifer Kok. Let me know you heard me on this podcast, and I would love to connect with you.
Guys, take advantage of this. Without a doubt, Jennifer and I can guarantee to a very high level, you're going to have a plot twist. It's coming for you, and you get to choose how you will respond to it. We want to invite you to rise. We want to invite you to build your muscle and build your muscle before you need it. But if you're still breathing, there's a reason. Go out there, find great community, connect to great people like Jennifer, and be back here, guys. This has been another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message. Thank you, Jennifer, for being our guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, you are so welcome. Guys, it's go time. We will see you on the inside. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell-Rappin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrappin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.